Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series presented by the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA. The Catalyst webinar series is a bi-weekly educational platform for creating success and change in your club and career. We're very excited to have the Association of Golf Merchandisers joining us this morning. The presentation will be led by Justine Gray. She is the Director of Membership and Education for the AGM, and Cindy Belden also, who is their Director of Sales. Wanted to welcome them to the webinar this morning and thank them for sharing their time and expertise with the Southern California PGA. And for those of you that don't know, the Association of Golf Merchandisers is a association of retail merchandisers that provide comprehensive education and create robust networking forums. And what they do is they really foster meaningful industry connections revolving around golf retail operations and concessions. Good morning, Justine. Good morning, Cindy. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Catalyst webinar.
Good morning, John. Thank you so much for having us. We're very delighted to be here presenting to the Southern California PGA. We actually had Ed Winecki from your neck of the woods presented for our members yesterday, so it worked out a very connected week for us between the AGM and Southern California. So thank you everyone for logging in and joining us. My name is Justine Gray, and I'm the Director of Membership and Education at the AGM. And today's topic is going to be your quarterly blueprint for golf shop success. So John talked a little bit about what we do and who we are at the AGM, but our mission is very simple. It's to elevate retail, enhance relationships, and educate always. Education's really at the heart of what we do, so we're very happy to bring this programming to the Southern California PGA. And the AGM has been the educational voice in golf merchandising since 1989. A little bit about me before we dive in. I was lucky enough to start my career on the private club side of things as a merchandiser. I was lucky enough to start out at Baltusrol Golf Club in New Jersey, where I was the e-commerce merchandiser and worked my way up to being the merchandise manager there. So a lot of my ideas in this presentation come from my time as a merchandiser. After about 4 years there, I spent some time at Summit Golf Brands in New York City on the corporate side of things, and then found my way to Florida, where I also spent some time at John's Island Club in Vero Beach, Florida, as a merchandiser. And now I am on the AGM team helping merchandisers in roles very similar I used to be in. All right, so as we get started here, just a quick overview of what we'll be covering in the seminar. We're going to be looking at some key tasks to ensure a smooth and efficient retail operation for you, enhancing customer satisfaction and relationships, and ultimately helping shape the leaders of tomorrow. And our goal here is to learn the key strategies that will help you maintain an organized, efficient, and customer-focused golf shop for long-term success. So as we get started, I'd like to invite you to start thinking about what are some things you may do each quarter in your golf shop. And these are things that you necessarily don't do every day or every week, but when you make time for them quarterly or a few times a year, they can really make an impact on the success of your retail operation. So what is the purpose of having a quarterly blueprint? It ensures a smooth and efficient retail operation for you. It can help enhance your customer satisfaction and ultimately building relationships with your customers. It can also help elevate the consistent service across the board so that no matter who might be working at the shop counter each day when your members and guests come in to see you, that they receive a consistent level of service. It promotes proactive management and attention to detail. It's a really great opportunity to train your retail and golf staff to help them take more ownerships of tasks and ultimately grow into bigger roles, whether that's at your facility or somewhere else as they move on. And your training can make a really big difference in their next opportunities. A merchandiser's consistent attention to detail and proactive management throughout the year ensures the shop runs smoothly and efficiently. So let's take your retail operation to the next level. So we're going to start out with probably a little bit more of one of the drier topics to work on, and that's cleaning up your SKUs. So when you're doing your physical inventory count, that can be a really great time to ensure your SKUs are up to date. It's also a great project to work on in your slower months. I know for you all in Southern California, you're more of a year-round location, but when you have those slower times, it's a great project. I know a lot of folks are working on it kind of right now while we are still in the first quarter. This might be a popular time when you are doing an inventory count to start your year. You want to ensure that your SKUs are both accurate and straightforward to avoid discrepancies. There is some things to be careful of in not having too many SKUs. If you're skewing down to the color level and the size level, that just makes it much more difficult for your staff to always need to bring merchandise in accurately down to the size and color level. And I know this might be crazy to think about, but there some point of sale systems, you will have a limit to the number of SKUs you can use. So it is possible you could run out of SKUs and numbers available to you. So just making sure that they're cleaned up and that they support your current retail needs. When you onboarded your current point of sale system, if it was 5 or 10 years ago, the way you set up your SKU system may be different than what you need now as your retail operation has changed and hopefully grown year over year. You may have different needs. This is also a great time to deactivate any age SKUs or unnecessary SKUs that are just kind of cluttering up your inventory and your point of sale system. So this kind of goes hand in hand, but cleaning up your inventory. At the AGM, we recommend completing a physical inventory count quarterly or biannually. So, doing an audit of your merchandise really goes hand in hand with that. And I know physical inventory counts are typically one of the less desirable tasks in the golf shop, but I like to think of it as an opportunity to really audit and understand your merchandise rather than just being something you have to complete by a certain date. It allows you to really dig into what items are slow moving. Is there markdowns you need to take on them or promotions to clear out any slow moving stock? Also, your shrinkage. So, hopefully, you're identifying your shrinkage when you're doing your physical inventory count. So, are there certain categories that have higher shrinkage? How can you work to minimize this? Is it simply human error? Are the SKUs confusing to your staff and they're ringing things in incorrectly? So, really working to clean those up and improve every time you do an inventory count. I love this picture from Terra Vita Golf Club that they submitted to their AGM Platinum Awards, as they have these really nice sort of tags on the outside of their bins. It looks like they're getting ready for an inventory count, and they placed the barcode stickers and quantities on the outside of the bin so they know exactly what is in it. So that'll make it really easy if they are counting, especially if they're using scanners. They can easily scan and they already have it organized with what is in these bins. All right, moving along here to reviewing your upcoming orders. We always recommend to regularly review what you have on order to best anticipate your stock arrivals. So this is kind of multifaceted. It'll help you plan your displays accordingly. So when you know what's coming in, where is it going to go? And when it arrives in your golf shop, do you perhaps need props or some other anything to enhance your visual displays for these goods? And what is the real estate of your shop going to look like? Do you need to move things around to make room for something seasonal that is coming in perhaps? As well as promotions. So keeping an eye on when things are arriving and also comparison to what events might be going on at your club or what holidays. Is there a fun promotion you can tie in with a specific group coming in around Mother's Day or Father's Day when you know there's a brunch and families are on property? and make adjustments as you need. I also like to think about your storage space. So, beyond when things are arriving of how they're going to be displayed in the golf shop, we all also have very finite amount of storage space. So, making sure you have room to store it, display it, and do what you need to sell it successfully. So, if you find that you do need to make adjustments, this will be based on seasonal trends that you're seeing, your sales data. Maybe you do need to adjust. Maybe you are having a slow spring and you need to push orders out. Or maybe it's been unseasonably wet and you don't have enough rain gear on order, so you need to pull some forward from when it was going to deliver later in the season. We recommend taking several steps before turning to order cancellations. So these would include adjusting your order quantities. So that may mean shrinking an order down, cutting down from 72 pieces to 60 pieces or so on. The assortment itself. So if you feel, you made a wrong call on a color, or you feel like you have too much purple in your shop right now, you don't need a purple group. It kind of slipped through the cracks on what the color assortments were going to look like. So you need to adjust that perhaps. And the arrival date. So that's probably the most powerful one, is if you could push an order out, or you can pull it forward. And you can work with your sales rep and your vendor partners to make these changes together and find something that works. And take all of these steps that you can before turning to a cancellation, and hopefully only making a cancellation of an order as a last resort. Same thing goes for your pre-books, your built stock, your orders on hold. Um, while pre-books have a lot of benefits and they're terrific to kind of place all your orders at the start of the season, there's something that you do need to monitor throughout your entire selling season. So you want to make sure that these orders are reflecting your ongoing needs and make adjustments as you see fit. So this might mean reviewing quantities, reviewing sizes, and ensure that they align with what you need to fill in. Also think about, does your staff know what built stock or merchandise you might have on hold is available to pull from? So making sure that everyone who works in the golf shop is aware that you have this product available to you. I like to recommend printing out these order confirmations and displaying them, or having them in a binder where everyone can see what you have in your pre-books, as this can be really easy to forget about when the season gets busy and miss out on. And this is always going to be what's easiest to pull from when you are in a pinch. And always keep in mind what date this merchandise needs to be released by, if you have an end date that you need to ensure you take your goods by then. So, with anticipating your stock arrivals, consider building either a map or floor plan to plan out your space for your incoming merchandise. You could also use a calendar format, either works. I really like this example from Belfair Golf Club I have here, because it looks like they have their accessories and golf bags and shoes planned out here. But with that, they have the holidays listed. So, this is a nice way to think about what they have coming in around the time for when the masters are, for Mother's Day, Father's Day, July 4th. So they're able to merchandise appropriately, plan promotions for the various holidays. So I really like adding the holidays to this approach. So if you're working with a map, I recommend using tools such as color coding. So maybe each department represents a different color. Numbered zones, so maybe you number your zones or your fixtures to identify the various areas or categories of merchandise. Calendars work great too, but ideally we want this to be a visual based tool, and something that all your staff can see and understand, so that it's hanging up somewhere where everyone sees it every day. And hopefully when they walk past it, they can start to understand and learn your merchandise operation even better. I also recommend relying more on pictures and colors instead of style numbers. So, an assistant working in your golf shop might not know what style number ABCD 1 2 3 4 is, but they would know what a blue and white striped polo shirt is. So, I like even just have saying, navy and green group, orange and white group. That simple, just so folks can visualize it a little bit better without needing to be an expert in every vendor SKU. So this is a great example from my friends at Baltusrol Golf Club. This is very simple. This was basically no cost for them to put this together. And they essentially, for each upcoming month, this is displayed in a hallway where everyone walks by every day. And above it, it has the month. So I think this was the month of April last year. And they have their groups and they just print out really basic photos. They have the vendor name, its arrival date, and the pictures. So super easy. Everyone can understand this. I also really like that it helps your staff learn your product life cycle as well if it's someone who's not as well versed in the merchandising piece of the golf operation, so that when Mr. Smith comes into the shop and asks them, "Oh, when are you getting your next Dunning group in? I love Dunning." And that way they can say, "Oh, Mr. Smith, we're getting a Dunning group on May 1st. It's orange and blue. Would you like us to let you know when it's in? You're going to love it." So much simpler than that assistant having to track down the golf shop manager, leaving a note for them, who then has to call the member back and connect with them to talk about when Dunning's coming in. So really having your staff have that ownership to communicate what's coming in. So next to those arrivals, they also have their shop map. Again, this was really easy to print out on a poster and just hang up on the wall. And they use sticky notes so that they can easily move groups around. So one sticky note might say men's blue and white Donald Ross, and then they can easily move it where it's located in the shop. So they use different colors to signify different things as well, but it's really great. Some of the ones they have off to the side on the left and the right are things that have either arrived and are ready to go up when a space is available, or they're expecting them to arrive very soon. So that'll help them plan out their space and move items around and understand what real estate they have available to them. All right, moving on to your outstanding special orders. Always keep an eye on what outstanding special orders and whatever the system is that you use to organize them. So, whether that is a digital platform or an old-fashioned special order binder. I know a particularly popular one is Golf Genius Golf Shop, which is really great for tracking your special order status, as well as sending automatic member notifications so that they know when their order has arrived. Of course, follow up with your vendors on items that are late or past their expected arrival date and, ask for those updates. You can also ask for complimentary expedited shipping if things are, past their expected date and your members are waiting on it. You can absolutely ask for expedited shipping to get it into your members' hands. And with that, maintain customer communication. So, keeping your customers informed about their delays and helping to maintain trust and satisfaction. So, that might mean, if your member has gone out of town or they're at their other home out of state, offering to ship it to them once it arrives to where they currently are, just to make things as seamless for them as possible. And here's a quick screenshot of what the special order platform looks on Golf Genius Golf Shop. I really like the columns that this is as straightforward as having your orders to place, orders placed that are in process, and things that have arrived. So very straightforward for everyone to understand and work off of this platform. All right, you're lost and found. If you have a lost and found in your shop, you want to work to clear this out. So, this may mean donating items if it's appropriate to do so, working to return things to members' lockers if there's a more centrally located lost and found to bring things to. And overall, we're just working to reduce the clutter in our golf shop. And also just being aware, is there a system in place for your lost and found clubs? And is the golf shop responsible for them, or is that an outside service item that they're responsible for? Managing merchandise that you have on hold. Clear out any items that were placed on hold for your customers. I know I worked in shops that always kind of had the dreaded drawer of things that were put on hold that were never retrieved by their customers. So if you have items that were not paid for, that a transaction has not happened, you absolutely want to return these items to the shop floor by the end of the quarter. I would say probably much sooner than that, probably by the end of the week or the month. You should absolutely make your full effort to sell those items because otherwise they're just going to go unclaimed. However, if some of the items have been paid for, work to place them in members' lockers, of course, if they have a locker. Call these customers for a friendly reminder. And again, offer to ship it to them. That's a really nice service to offer as a golf shop is, Mr. Smith, we can just ship it to you. You're going to be out of state? No problem. Where would you like it sent? Super simple. And with that goes your unclaimed special orders. So despite every effort we might make to get our special orders when they arrive into the hands of the members, there's inevitably going to be things that remain unclaimed in the golf shop. And of course, we want to reach out with as many friendly reminders as we can. And again, consider shipping solutions to get it out of the golf shop and into their hands. Moving along to our demo clubs. You want to take a look at any demo clubs that have been out of the shop for an extended period of time. And you know your members best to know what is a long period of time at your club. It may be very different for some folks. For some, it might just be a couple of days that your members hold on to demos for. For others, it might be a week or two, or maybe even longer. So just understand what is a normal, acceptable time at your shop. There's a lot of great digital management tools out there as well for this now, which I think are wonderful. I remember having to put paper tags on demos and having people sign them like 5 years ago. So I love that there's barcodes and we can scan them with apps on our phone. And there's various different programs that do this that'll help you manage the inventory. And also some of them send out automatic reminders to the borrower saying, Mr. Smith, it's time to renew your demo club to the shop. Of course, you want to contact any members that have long overdue demo clubs to recover these items. And sometimes they end up in very different places on properties. So that might mean in your bag room left in someone's bag. They might even be in the lost and found clubs or in the club repair area or in the rental set. So just being aware of where sometimes things that walk off or they might end up at your facility. And I would say your demo club retention rate is good to look at every quarter and see how you're doing. And then we have our back end supplies. So all the things that are important for you to be able to do your job. So that's your printer paper, your ink, your labels, your receipt paper, shipping supplies, that's an important one. You know, your boxes, your labels, packing tape, stuffing. I always recommend saving as many packing peanuts and bubble wrap from things that arrive into your shop as possible, as there will always come a time where you need more than what you have to ship something breakable. So hold on to more than you need. Same things for shaft labels, bag tags, any additional golf supplies that the golf shop is responsible for maintaining the inventory of. This is really important to do, before a big tournament or before any special events at your club, especially, a member guest. I've been there with the printer ink running out the day before the member guest. It is not fun, so always check on those items before your big events. And then your customer facing supplies. So these are things like your shopping bags, especially if you have custom logo bags that have a long lead time to get printed, making sure you're keeping ahead of getting those replenished. Same thing with your wrapping paper, if you have custom logo tissue and gift boxes, as well as gift card materials. I know some facility have cards that are custom printed, making sure you have what you need. And then also thinking about any other various items you might be responsible for, like your tees and your scorecards, anything that lives in the golf shop for customers and members to take. All right, attention to your props and hangers. So we recommend checking on these various items that are part of your visual merchandising for wear and tear and making replacements as needed. While these things generally have a long lifespan of what your tables and mannequins and hangers, they do kind of take a beating every day, right? Your hangers are being used day in, day out by customers. Sometimes they just get worn out and do need to be replaced. And you want to ensure that you maintain your shop's visual merchandising up to your facility's standard. And just be mindful of when you need to replace things. I think this would be a really terrific category to assign to an entry level team member. So whether that's an assistant golf pro or maybe even an intern or a retail assistant getting started at your facility, letting them be the lead for props and hangers where they're responsible for maintaining them, organizing them when they're being stored and not in use, paying attention when things do need to be replaced or upgraded, or when it does come time to, say, invest in more mannequins or invest in a little more higher end goods for your displays. Also, kind of the fun seasonal props. So, this person could be in charge of when you're doing a St. Patrick's Day display, that they are the ones sourcing the props and the fun things and going out and finding them and making sure you have what you need. All right, your markdowns. This is my favorite retail topic to talk about. So, year round markdowns are essential to a robust retail business, no matter the sales volume. We recommend utilizing a tiered markdown system for success. So, what does that mean? That means beginning with a very soft 20% off sale when it's time to move something to markdown. Everyone's shop is different. Every category is a little bit different, but you know best when it's time to move something to a markdown. So whether, it's been on the sales floor for 4 weeks and it's not moving for whatever reason, that color or that brand just didn't resonate with your members, then it's absolutely time to take 20% off. And typically, women's apparel is going to move a little bit faster. Typically, ladies, you can kind of tell in even 7 to 10 days in the golf shop how they're responding to it. Men's apparel might move a little bit slower. So you might pull some things as well that are a last of. Let's say a collection did sell really well and your members liked it, but you just have it got very PC because it's been so shopped. Then it's time to move those items to markdown as well if the collection's very broken and you only have very minimal sizes left in goods. So those things can absolutely be moved to 20% off. And from there, you'll want to set up a pace for when you look to mark things down more. So let's say you decide when things have been on the markdown rack at 20% off for 2 weeks, you mark them down further. So then you're going to go to your 40% off. And then you determine how long before you want to go to 60% off with those goods. We recommend not going deeper than that unless you absolutely have to, so you maintain some of your profitability. And I always like to say a markdown rack can tell you a lot about any shop. So that means what sizes are on it, what colors are on it, what vendors. It tells you a lot about the customers. These are really good to evaluate and avoid backlog by regularly replenishing and marking down merchandise. So this should be a task that's happening throughout your entire selling season instead of a season end blowout 80% off, 19.99 for everything sale. This should be something that happens for every month, every week that you're open. These are being replenished and they're being merchandised with the same care as the rest of the goods in your shop. So what I mean that is using the same hangers, using signage that matches the rest of your shop. I love this terrific reductions at the Country Club of Virginia. So however you can make it feel like the rest of your shop, ideally merchandise to the same level, same hangers, all of that. Analyze your markdown data and identify any trends. So this would mean making notes of what vendors and sizes are on the markdown rack the most often, as this can really inform and support your future buying decisions. So sometimes a vendor might just have an off season or an off year where their colors just didn't resonate with your members. However, if it's always ending up on the markdown rack, it may be time to adjust your assortment and what open to buy dollars you are spending with that particular vendor. Same thing goes for color. If you always end up with pink on your men's markdown rack, that may tell you that your men don't like pink polo shirts. Size, I think size, it can tell you exactly what sizes you need to be purchasing for your members. I worked at a shop where our men's sale rack was always size small and size extra large. We never ended up with any medium or large on the markdown rack. So that told us we needed to change up our sizing matrices of how we were buying men's apparel, as it told us our men are size medium and large. And while we, of course, still needed some small and some extra large, we needed it in much smaller quantities. So we were able to get that sizing into much a better balance where we had a little bit of every size on the men's markdown rack by the following year. It's definitely a slow change, not something you're going to change overnight, but it's really important part of your retail operation. And I think it fits in well to be evaluating that quarterly and seeing what adjustments you might want to make to your buying strategies based on what you're seeing on your markdown rack. This is also another really great category to assign to a team member. So letting them be the markdown lead. So that would mean that they're responsible for pulling the items from the floor, physically marking them down, ideally with colored stickers that show the new price, and merchandising them in the shop, and taking any additional markdowns that need to happen, as well as being responsible for making notes of what brands, what colors, what sizes are living on that markdown rack. All right, moving along to re-tagging. It's always great to do a sweep of your sales floor to identify any items that are in need of re-tagging. This is good to do before you take a physical inventory count. So if you know you count quarterly or monthly at your shop, do a sweep of your tags before you start that process. Especially if you're using scanners, you don't want to be have your team scanning and not realizing that things are mistagged or they're missing tags, and then you have to stop and be able to obtain tags for them. It's also important for maintaining accurate pricing. So you need to do retags as you need to prevent pricing errors. And you want to adjust for any price changes to be reflected. So if ladies' zero restriction vests go up $5 this season, but it's a core item, so you have some on the sales floor, you would want to pull those as well and update the pricing so that it's all reflected in the same, so you don't have the same item with various different prices on the sales floor. So I know this might depend a little bit on what point of sale system you use, but I know for sometimes it's easier to do batch retags. So it's makes more sense to do print a whole sheet of them instead of just printing a one-off tag. So this could be a nice thing to kind of collect throughout the week. Maybe there's a basket where things, if they're returned and they need a retag, or the tag fell off, or it's missing, and so on. This is really great for a staff member to take ownership of and retag in batches during slow times. So maybe it's a particular individual on your team is the retag lead, or maybe whoever opens the shop on Thursday mornings is responsible for making the retags. Check in with your other department heads. Visit with the other department heads at your facility. It's great to learn what events they have coming up in their respective areas and see, is there anything you can support them with from a retail perspective per se, or perhaps an opportunity to collaborate? Staying engaged with your facility as a whole is a really important key to success and will ultimately lead to greater harmony and a collaborative work environment across departments. And then on the other side of things, are there any retail initiatives or policies you should communicate to your other departments? So maybe there are specific hours that employees are permitted to shop. Maybe there's an upcoming staff sale you want everyone on property to be aware of. Maybe you're going to be closed for a holiday coming up or closed to take inventory one day. Basically, anything that they should know that they can share with their internal respective teams. So, overall, as we create this blueprint, we want a checklist that best serves you and your team's needs. So, everyone's will look a little bit different. But there's kind of three main categories to focus on. The first is your proactive inventory and order management. So that means regularly auditing your inventory and reviewing your upcoming orders to ensure that your shop remains well stocked, organized, and prepared to meet your customer demand. Again, another example from Belfair Golf Club here. I like how they have this really straightforward for their apparel arrivals with dates and colors. So, they had January 15th, Stitch on 115, pink, blue, green. So, very easy and straightforward to understand. And then the next category is your customer focused communication and service. So, maintaining clear communication with customers regarding things such as special orders, unclaimed items, any delays, demo clubs to foster trust and satisfaction, leading to stronger customer relationships and repeat business. And the last category is your cross department collaboration. So, fostering a collaborative environment with other departments will help enhance employee morale, and it might even create some new opportunities for sales and customer engagement. This example is from the Country Club of Mirasol in Florida. They had a demo wedge event out in the short game area, and the shop merchandiser attended it and was there to support the event, and food and beverage was involved. And it was really nice because they got to meet members who don't typically come inside of the shop to see them. So they were out, in the practice area with the food and beverage team, and they got to meet new faces who they maybe wouldn't have otherwise. So before we wrap up here, would you like to go a step further? We have one more category we're going to touch on. And that is your staff training and engagement. So, first and foremost, product knowledge. We want to be conducting training sessions to keep our staff updated on new merchandise and new operational procedures. Regular team meetings can really help foster camaraderie and belonging. Even something as simple as a quick 15-minute meeting to start the day can make a difference. I find this particularly helpful for when we have assistant professionals working in the golf shop who are likely not in there every day, right? So they might only be working in the shop once a week, once every other week, every now and again as needed. So we all know a lot can change in a shop in a week. So that you may have totally flipped over the location of everything in the shop. You may have a new brand on the floor they don't know about. So especially when those folks are coming in to work in the golf shop. And if things have changed since their last shift, you want to be sharing what new brands might be on the floor. If you did move something, is there an event going on or a special promotion they need to know about? Another great idea would be to rotate duties and responsibilities when it is appropriate to do so. Variety can really help keep your work environment fresh and dynamic, helping prevent burnout. And this might even help someone on your team discover perhaps a new area or a role to explore in their career. Team building, so organizing activities outside of work to enhance team morale and engagement quarterly, recognizing and rewarding any achievements, both in and out of the workplace achievements, and encouraging your team to seek out opportunities for professional development and continuing education. So, attending digital education just like this, and fostering mentorship opportunities at your facility, whether that's something of a more informal program or if your club has a formal mentorship program in place. And training your staff for ownership of these tasks. I think that all these various tasks we spoke about today that are kind of routine and can be done quarterly, these are really prime opportunities for your staff to take ownership of different areas of the retail operation. And these could really easily live on a digital calendar that your whole team shares, and the various tasks are on there with the assignments of when they must be completed. Or a old-fashioned paper calendar where the tasks are noted and accounted for. These can really help your team become your resident expert in a specific area. So this might be your markdowns, demo clubs, fixtures, and props. I think that would be a particularly fun one. So kind of the opportunities are endless. Assigning an area to a staff member can help their motivation and confidence in their growing responsibilities. And it's an opportunity to shape the golf retail leaders of tomorrow. And really thinking about how can you help them expand their retail expertise before they head into their next bigger opportunity. So, your quarterly blueprint. Addressing these tasks each quarter will ensure that your golf shop remains organized, efficient, and customer focused. By staying proactive and attentive to every aspect of your retail operation, you'll set the stage for sustained success throughout the entire selling season. Implement these tasks into your calendar to maintain a thriving golf shop, and hopefully, this blueprint will help keep your customers coming back each season. So, as we wrap up here, I absolutely welcome any questions. I'd also love to hear if anyone has items or tasks that are on their checklist at their facility that they do quarterly. Anything maybe I didn't talk about here, I'd love to hear what everyone's doing in their shop each quarter that really makes a difference for them.
Justine, thank you so much for the very thorough presentation. You definitely know your stuff. In
Mhm.
terms of the quarterly blueprint, can you talk a little bit about what you've seen or what the AGM has seen in terms of staff makeup, the growing trend of, it's been an ongoing thing even before the pandemic. Assistant golf professionals are not as readily available as they once were, and the
Mhm.
growing trend for shop assistants that are not necessarily career oriented towards becoming head professionals, a growing trend of those individuals as well. And then the dynamic of whether or not your shop has a standalone merchandiser or not. Who, and kind of the second part of that question is, who is the AGM? Is this head golf professionals? Is this high-end uh, country club and resort standalone merchandisers? Who makes up the AGM, and how does that blueprint change from dynamic to dynamic depending on your demographic of who's working in your shops?
For sure. So, thinking about the first part of your question, as far as maybe having retail assistants or folks helping out in the shop who aren't on the career trajectory of becoming head professionals, I think just supporting those folks is the most important to get them invested into the operation, even if their goal is not eventually to be a golf professional or director of golf, folks who are not going through the PGA program or don't have plans to. I think just supporting them and giving them that investment into the shop. So whether that's letting them be the one who manages the markdowns or figuring out where their interests and strengths lie and maybe letting them be the lead for that and developing them into, your team. And you never know. I've seen folks that were, part-time retail help, part-time outside help going into the PGA program after they were exposed to the experience of being in the golf shop and wanting to make it a career. So I think it can, the leadership in the shop, whether that's the director of retail or the head professional, I really think it's on them to develop that talent. And we of course want more folks working in the shop, so building that out with them. And then as far as who is the AGM, I think it's all of the categories you mentioned. So for the most part, our folks are at private facilities. So about 70% of them are at private facilities. The rest are at your resorts, your public, your off course, and they are the merchandise manager, the golf shop manager, the head golf professional, the director of golf, the retail assistants, the visual merchandisers. Kind of we have all those folks of our, what the job titles may be. Probably the most common is the folks who are the merchandise manager, but absolutely all of them are a part of our community.
Now, is there a correlation, kind of a numbers question, high level? Is there a correlation between gross sales and inventory levels? And what's really the suggested makeup of how much gross sales equals how much inventory you should carry, hard good and soft good?
Sure. So I would say it's not a straightforward formula. It has a lot of factors that weigh into it. Some of it including, is it a seasonal facility or a year-round facility? That'll affect what their inventory kind of curve looks like. Inventory facilities I mean, year-round facilities are going to have a more consistent level across the whole year. So that would probably be the folks in your neck of the woods in Southern California. But more seasonal, they're going to have a curve and they're going to have a drop off typically before they go out of season or before they close. So typically, the shops that are doing higher volume do need to have more inventory to support that because they also have to balance their turnover with that. So thinking about, while they might want to keep their on-hand inventory low, if they are selling a healthy, good amount, they also need to think about how quickly can they turn that merchandise, right? There's such a thing of too fast of a turnover in golf because typically just thinking about the lead times of getting goods, especially something like hard goods, and in the last few years, the struggles that have been around some of the manufacturing and shipping and all that. So they need to think about how quickly can I get goods in? So they definitely want to have enough on hand to support that and understanding how long am I going to wait to get these goods. So generally, of course, the higher, more gross sales clubs are going to have more on hand to support that.
Really appreciate the AGM's focus on member services. A big takeaway that I heard in your presentation today was the retailer doing the follow-up on the special order back order. So often we see in our industry where the member or the customer has to keep coming in and asking where their special order is. Taking that proactive lead and having a system in place for the retailer to do the reaching out and giving them heads up on the lead time and where their special order is, that's powerful right there. And that's all the essence of relationship building and member trust right there.
Absolutely. And that would be another great task to have someone on your team who does keep an eye on when things are late. What do we need to follow up on? I know it can be overwhelming, especially in season, to keep up with so many special orders, but just trying to get ahead of it the best we can.
Indeed. And maybe this question's more for Cindy. I'm sure Justine, you know the answer to it too. What are the AGM annual dues and what does it really take to join? And how can we get that information?
Justine, do you want to answer that or would you like me
Sure.
to? Either way is fine with me.
Yeah. So, for the folks, if they're coming on as a AGM, are the category, I think most of the folks on this call would be under our merchandiser category. So that's anyone who typically works at a golf facility, whether they're a PGA professional or on more core on the retail side. So they would be under our merchandiser category. And an annual membership is $400. However, if you already have someone at your facility who is an AGM member. So if you'd like to come on as well and you already have someone on your team, then it is $300 to be the associate member on the account. And then we also have a monthly option as well for folks who perhaps want to try it out and aren't quite ready to commit to the whole year. And the QR code I have on the screen here will take you right to our membership page where if anyone does want to sign up or read more about it, the QR code will take you right there.
And a big focus of the AGM is continuous education and networking. Do you have, for members of the AGM, do you have monthly or quarterly or biannual webinars and educational platforms that your membership can benefit from?
Yes, we absolutely do. Our digital education is quite robust. We do weekly webinars. So last year we had 54 unique webinars, and we're aiming to be on that same path this year. So they're all complimentary to our members to attend, and then they're of course recorded for those folks who can't attend live. And members also have access to our whole back library of webinars. So there's endless things that any topic they might need help with, they can search the library. And then our big kind of in-person conference is the day before the PGA show in Orlando, Florida. And it's right there at the Orange County Convention Center. And it's our kind of retail celebration day, for lack of a better term. So it's really nice. Our members, come into town a day early, and they have a great day of education and retail roundtables and workshops and educational seminars, as well as a nice luncheon. And it's a really great day for them to kick off. We had about 300 AGM members there in January, so it's really nice kind of celebration of retail before they head into the rest of the hectic PGA show week.
Well, fantastic. On behalf of the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA, we want to extend our gratitude to you, Justine and Cindy, for putting together the presentation and sharing your time and expertise and helping the section with some education. And for all the PGA members that joined us this morning on the webcast, you will earn 1 PDR credit for joining Justine's presentation. And just want to thank everybody for supporting the Catalyst webinar. Justine, Cindy, thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, John, for having us, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. Feel free to reach out with any questions. We're always happy to help.
Oh, yes, and I'll send out the YouTube recording of this morning's webcast along with a PDF of Justine's presentation. So everyone will have access to that QR code, contact information, and the content of the presentation itself. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a great day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care.